Hello and welcome back to OC Avery. I'm Oliver, and now today this is episode 12 of season 1 of Brady and British Birds. Now, as usual, this episode is full of ups and downs from keeping these sorts of birds, but overall I'd say we've about ended up level from the events that have happened this week. I've got plenty of young birds to show you that have now just come out of the eggs. We've got more birds on the perches and some outside in the new flights. We also have some very exciting news, which I'll be talking about a little later on in this video in the mule and hybrid update, which you'll definitely want to be staying tuned for, so make sure you stay till the end so you don't miss any of it. So earlier this week I made a short video on actually live food. Do British birds need live food to breed? I've already spoke about that in that video, so the answer is really no, because a lot of the birds, like the red poles, won't. Some of them won't even touch live food to give to the chicks, so they get along just fine with egg food in an egg food drawer like this. Now, some birds do need it, like we spoke about with chaffinches, but overall, I like to give them the option, just so it's a bigger variety of food in there, different sort of things from that. Now, some of the birds that I find do sort of benefit from it more and readily take it more isn't the red poles. They don't really tend to be bothered about live food. The siskins absolutely love live food, and we'll come to those guys a little later on. The bullfinches, I can actually hand feed the bullfinch hen like a mealworm. I've got a video of that, and she's quite, especially when she's in sort of breeding mode, she's really quite alright with people. The rest of the time she doesn't really like to go near, but as soon as she's in breeding mode and you've got a mealworm in your hand, she'll quite easily take it. So just a bit of something on mealworms and live food. Some of the birds like it and some don't. So beginning with a catch up with the canaries. How are the canaries getting on this week? Well, overall, I can say positive news from all 5 pairs. So let's have a look now. So starting with our red-eyed satinettes, we use these guys as feeders. We haven't had any full eggs from them this year. We might maybe next round have had the cockbird on some more fertility vitamins. I'm kind of hoping it might bring him round. But we've got a nest sort of, rebuilt. No egg yet. But I am thinking this pair we're going to utilise as feeders because they did a brilliant job last time with some young pied greenfinches. We have our yellow dimorphics. Now, we saw last week these guys, I believe it was last week, had some chicks underneath them, which were red poles. Sadly, the hen, I think red poles are just too small. I've had several failed attempts now of using big canaries as feeders for red poles. The chicks are just too small, and it's not really worked well. But anyway, they have rebuilt pretty much. Just need a little bit more nest material, and I'm going to let them go down another round, use them as fosters for some of the larger finches. Coming to this pair, we have our Norwich cock, the green Norwich cock with a yellow ticked fife hen. Now, like I said last week, the reason for this pairing, I would never recommend really crossbreeding canaries, especially if you're trying to build a competitive stud. But for the reason of this, we're actually looking to get some larger canaries like the Norwich, with perhaps slightly little better feeding qualities to use next year for sort of rearing greenfinches, bullfinches, and larger mules and hybrids. Well, that hen, she's on 4 eggs, all 4 are full. I'm pretty confident that they've been filled by that cockbird, unless she's kept some sperm stored from the other 5 cockbird. But I'd be surprised. He's in top form. He's been in brilliant condition, so I'm kind of hoping that he's fathered those eggs and we'll get a couple of larger variety canaries. Coming to this pair, we had them feeding pied greenfinches, little chicks, and for whatever reason this pair have just sort of lost the spark in terms of feeding. They reared some greenfinches, a pied and a normal, about a month ago or so, and sadly they've lost the interest of feeding. Not sure why, but they didn't feed the red poles which were underneath them, and they didn't feed the greenfinches. So I've sort of left them to just get on with stuff now. Didn't rebuild the nest, but I don't know if anything's going to come from it, so I might just let her sit some eggs, just canaries, and see if she'll even feed them. And then as we come to this cage, you can see we have our new colour hen who's fostered these lovely little 5 chicks. So we've got a variegated bird here, obviously. By the looks of that, that's a buff bird. We've got some variegation, obviously, on the wing. That's the only variegated bird in this nest. Coming down here, excuse in the mess on the walls of the cage. That's just where the nest was. We've got a little clear cinnamon. We've got a little clear one there, and another clear there. So overall, a nest of 4, all looking well. They're beginning to feed now, so we'll see how they get on next week, and hopefully they should be weaned by then. Now, the red polls have been challenging this week. We have got some good news with them, but we've also got that followed with some bad news. So I think it's time we take a look at them, and we'll see how they're getting on. So we're going to begin with the pair of normals. We've got the normal hen there, and she was paired to a normal split Feo cock. They have got 3 chicks we saw in last week's episode. As you can see, we have what looks like a normal here in the right. We have a cinnamon at the back, which is from the cockbird carrying cinnamon, so that's a definite hen. And we have a little cinnamon in the foreground, which is being fed from it. It's actually fostered from a different pair, so we'll talk about that in a minute. We have this hen here. She is sat on 3 eggs. She is from the World Show silver medalist pair. She was bred last year by a chap who won, and I've since got her in. She's on 3, so she laid 3rd today, so we're going to leave her to sit. Coming down to the next pair, we have the Isabel cock with the cinnamon hen. They have relayed, rebuilt, and we've got first egg there today. I might let her sit, I might not. I'm really not sure. Coming to this pair, we have the agate cock with the cinnamon hen. This pair were fostering the cinnamons from that the World Show pair. However, the hen sadly didn't feed enough, and we got down to 2 chicks, which made it to ringing stage after 6 hatched. Sadly, one of those chicks then perished because she just wasn't feeding enough food. So that is why I moved the chick out of that nest and into that nest, which is now being fed. And what I have left to do is rebuild. However, she's not rebuilt there, she's actually rebuilt here, which is literally on the cage front next to the feeder. So I'm not sure what I'm going to do, whether I'll let her just get on with it there or whether I do change things. We've got this pair here. We've got the cobalt hen, and I've since reintroduced the normal cockbird. This pair produced for us, and I've literally just not long since weaned the youngsters from this pair. We had 2 normals from them, and then I did foster out an agate. You can see the hen is calling the cockbird to feed. They are quite a well bonded pair. She is now rebuilding, hopefully going down for her 2nd clutch. Just a quick look down here. We have the hen, the cobalt hen that was she's losing feathers. She's a bit molting out, and I think the cockbird had a bit of something to do with that, being a bit overly aggressive. I reintroduced the pair after a week being separated. I've just changed a little nest pan. I've actually got a really small one in there just to see if she does anything. If not not to worry. We've got the normal split Feo cockbird in here, the red poll. Obviously his chicks are being reared at the moment, so we'll see how they get on, but he's doing fine, just keeping fit in here. This is where some excitement comes in. We have the normal pastel cock with the cobalt hen. They have just first today welcomed some chicks, so we have in there, we've got 6 or 7 eggs. We've got a brown pastel just hatched, and there's actually an agate in there, and the reason being is where the heartache sets in is that we have the normal split cinnamon, split agate, split Isabel, split pastel cockbird. Sadly, the agate hen, who was I believe 4 years old, sadly passed on the nest, which was here. She passed on about day 7. of 11 days of the eggs being sat, and sadly those eggs went cold. They were freezing cold when I found them. Now I did have a look. Of 5 eggs, 2 were clear, 3 were full. I managed to put 1 egg, because that hen had 6 eggs. I got 1 egg, put it in there, and it has since hatched. It looks like a little agate, but sadly the other 2 I had nowhere for at all, and they just looked sort of the worst of the bunch, which I felt that might not even have managed to make it back from being that cold. So we do have 1 other youngster which is in that nest from that pair, but looks like we might have to call it a year for this cockbird unless we could get a hen in. But it is getting late on in the season now to where I don't think that's going to be available. I just want to take a look at the young red poles quickly. As you can see, these 2 normals are from the cobalt hen to the normal cockbird with a slight bit of pied. These look brilliant, lovely markings down them, especially on the flanks. That looks a brilliant bird. You can see they are some of them are nicely joined up. We've got another normal there, and we'll just look at the other chicks. So as you can see here, we've got a cobalt, a cinnamon, a cobalt, a weird like normal bird, a cinnamon, a cobalt, a brown pastel, a cinnamon. There's actually a cinnamon there with white wings, and as far as I'm aware, they're not pastel carriers, they're pairers. So I wonder if that's a bit of a new mutation that's come out, but I'm not sure. And actually, you can just see there a little agate that's just not long since had a bath. So in here we have all the young red poles of the year so far, all getting on really well. They're getting a mixed diet of hard seed, egg food, and also mealworms, and they are getting on really well, all looking good, all looking healthy. So now let's move on to the Greenfinches. The Greenfinches have overall, I'd say they've had a good week. We did sadly lose some of the pieds, which were being fostered by a fife. Just failed to feed. I tried hand rearing formula and I just could not get them to bring back round, which was a real shame. But welcome to breeding birds, it happens. On a good note though, what we do have now, which is very exciting, the normals have just left the nest from our best pair. So they're doing well. That takes us up to 8. Now they have jumped on, made it to the sticks. And we're now going to get them on some baycocks, just whilst they're still with the parents, just to make sure or try and prevent them going light as much as possible. But the pieds, let's talk about the pieds. Well, we have the pair which are in cage 7. They were last week building as a freestanding nest, actually on the cover behind the nest site. That completely failed. There wasn't enough there, and I didn't think there was, to support a nest reasonably well. The hen kept building the platform and extending it and expanding it, but it just ended up overall like a sort of clump. Nowhere really to even put an indent for a nest, and it just really didn't work. So I went, sort of took out the cage front, cleaned that up, removed it, and then put in a different nest site. After putting in the different nest site yesterday, we've got a nest today. She has spent the whole day building up, and we're going to talk about some of the stuff next which I've actually used. And then to come to other pair of pieds, it just kind of went downhill. They had some eggs. We did remove the cockbird. The eggs failed to hatch, for some reason dead in shell for that round, so I've left the pair to rebuild. Now what I am going to do with those pairs of the pieds, we do have the new colours going down in the bottom 2 cages. I'm pretty fed up with the Greenfinches losing chicks, and I don't know what's causing it. I don't know whether it's cages too small perhaps, even though they are going to nest, so why wouldn't they rear? And they're just not showing great signs of rearing. I don't know why, I'm not too sure. I don't want any further issues with that, so what I'm going to do is, as soon as the eggs are laid, I'm going to set them each day with fake eggs, and then when we get the eggs from the pieds, they're going under the new colours. The new colours have reared well for me this year. Did not let me down. So let's hope they're going to rear me some young Greenfinches, and that's going to be the pieds. Now, just for the middle of this video, I'd like to say a huge thank you to our channel sponsor, Direct Bird Products. Thank you very much, Shane, for sending me all of the different things which I'd asked for. If you haven't already, check them out. The link is in the description to Direct Bird Products Facebook, YouTube and their website. You can order all the bird needs from there, especially if you're in England. Perfect place for getting them. Now, I had a load of different things coming from Shane. So I had some deep nest pans, which we're going to look at later. I had some other large nest pans. I've got some wire holders. I've got some grass liners. I've got some really quite large drinkers, which we are using on the new flights. And I've got a few spare for some of the other birds. We've got a load of new plastic baths and a few other little things in there. So massive thank you to Shane at Direct Bird Products. Please go and check them out. You'll not regret it. So this week we've had an exciting and an upsetting sort of start with the Bullfinches. The week began going great. We had two Bullfinch chicks hatch from 2 full eggs. 1 egg was clear. Of those 2 chicks, we had 1 normal and 1 pastel. I was really pleased obviously to see a pastel. The pastel, because of pastel in bullfinches, is sex linked. It had to be a hen, and therefore obviously guaranteeing there's a bullfinch hen, which I'm really quite looking for sort of next year to have for mules and hybrids. And then we had a normal in there as well, and obviously I'm not going to pastel bullfinch, so I'd love one of those. As the week progressed, they got on well. However, there did seem to be a little issue with mite. I did notice when actually looking at the chicks, there seemed to be a few mite on them. I have completely treated the bullfinches, all the birds, for mite anyway. Do take precautions on that, and it seems that there was some mite maybe perhaps hiding behind the nest site or something, and there was a couple of mite on them. Anyway, sorted all that out, cleaned them off. However, they had attacked the pastel a bit more than the normal, of course, and sadly we lost that pastel chick. I'm absolutely gutted that we lost the pastel chick, because I'd love to have a pastel bullfinch. I'm kind of hoping next round might work, and we'll see how they get on. But what we have got is a normal chick. This is doing well. The parents are feeding, so hopefully some good news for next week with that is that the chick's getting on well. But let's not hold his breath, and let's see how they get on. Just for the goldfinches in that flight, not much is really happening. They've been looking at nest sites and inspecting them, but they've not shown an awful lot of interest. So we're just gonna have to see what the goldfinches do and if we can get anywhere with them. So this week we've had an exciting and an upsetting sort of start with the Bullfinches. The week began going great. We had 2 Bullfinch chicks hatch from 2 full eggs. 1 egg was clear. Of those 2 chicks, we had 1 normal and 1 pastel. I was really pleased obviously to see a pastel. The pastel, because of pastel in bullfinches, is sex linked. It had to be a hen, and therefore obviously guaranteeing there's a bullfinch hen, which I'm really quite looking for sort of next year to have for mules and hybrids. And then we had a normal in there as well, and obviously I'm not going to pastel bullfinch, so I'd love one of those. As the week progressed, they got on well. However, there did seem to be a little issue with mite. I did notice when actually looking at the chicks, there seemed to be a few mite on them. I have completely treated the bullfinches, all the birds, for mite anyway. Do take precautions on that, and it seems that there was some mite maybe perhaps hiding behind the nest site or something, and there was a couple of mite on them. Anyway, sorted all that out, cleaned them off. However, they had attacked the pastel a bit more than the normal, of course, and sadly we lost that pastel chick. I'm absolutely gutted that we lost the pastel chick, because I'd love to have a pastel bullfinch. I'm kind of hoping next round might work, and we'll see how they get on. But what we have got is a normal chick. This is doing well. The parents are feeding, so hopefully some good news for next week with that is that the chick's getting on well. But let's not hold his breath and let's see how they get on. Just for the goldfinches in that flight, not much is really happening. They've been looking at nest sites and inspecting them, but they've not shown an awful lot of interest. So we're just going to have to see what the goldfinches do and if we can get anywhere with them. Now, siskins have been hard work this week. We saw last week we finally had some siskins hatch and they were being fed. We had 4 chicks hatch, 1 egg turned out to be clear. The hen fed all of these chicks well to about 3 days old. Then she, obviously with a larger chick, sort of took favour. We lost 2 chicks before I even knew that they were being fed less. So we ended up with 2 chicks. I rang these 2 chicks at 5 days old, and then the hen left the nest after I rang those chicks. Now, I have no clue really why she left the nest, because she didn't throw the chicks out like they can do sometimes with British birds and having the rings on them. She just left the nest, and I honestly think it was because I was handling the chicks, because I had to put the rings on them. She left that nest and both chicks went stone cold. I warmed them up in my hand and one of them was dead, but one was alive. And the one that's alive, obviously the hen's left the nest, she's not going back to it. I had considered putting it in with the red poles, but I don't want to risk losing the red poles. And the chick was slightly smaller. So I am hand rearing a siskin chick, which is exciting because I have hand reared birds before, but never anything that small. And I'm just going to have to see how I get on, and let's not hold his breath with it, because I'm going to obviously try my best to keep this chick going well, but it is a demanding thing, sort of hand rearing birds, finches especially, and sometimes it can just be, it's too much sometimes for the chick, and just doesn't work too well. So we'll see how I get on, but we've got a siskin chick being hand reared 1. In the meanwhile, I have reintroduced the pair, and we'll see if we can get another round from them. As for the other pair, nothing's really happening, but they are starting to build again. So let's go and have a look at the mules and hybrids. Got some exciting news for you. So beginning with our Goldfinch mule pairs, we've got the yellow Norwich hen on 2 eggs, and she was paired to a yellow Goldfinch cock. Now, she had 3 eggs, and we saw those last week. Sadly, one of the eggs was smashed, but underneath her is 2 eggs, both of which are full. Now, I am over the moon that we've got some Goldfinch mule eggs full. Obviously, an absolutely lovely pair, a lovely Goldfinch cock, a normal native Goldfinch cock, and then we have a lovely clear yellow Norwich hen. So let's see how we get on with those guys, but I'm really excited to see what happens with this pair and these chicks, because I think if all goes well we could have some absolutely beautiful Goldfinch mules from this pair, and obviously of hopefully show standard, because we've got the Norwich. Coming to our next pair, we've got the native Goldfinch cock, another one with a Norwich hen, a ticked buff hen. This is a nest from Shane Evans of Direct Bird Products, so massive thank you, Shane, for the nests. And as you can see, the hen has rebuilt, all going well, and there's no egg yet, but I think it will be soon. So let's see how they get on as a pair, but fingers crossed, and hopefully we'll have some exciting news for next week. Now, the siskin red poll hybrid pair are rebuilding. We've got a nest here, and this is what's interesting. We've got a nest here, and in there you can see there's an egg. That's actually a false egg. She laid 1 egg in that nest, and then she's laid 1 egg in that nest. Also, that's a false egg, so I've replaced them. So I'm interested to see which nest site she chooses, but there was 1 egg in there and 1 egg in there. So we're going to have to see what they actually decide on, where she lays most of them, where she begins sitting. Where she begins sitting is where I'll set those eggs. But I'm hoping the siskin cock is looking okay. He's not looking his best, but I still think he'll fill those eggs. I think he just might be a little bit scraggy. I've given them baths and what, but he's not really bothered with them. So we'll see what happens. Let's hope they're full, and it'd be lovely to get some hybrids out of these guys. Apologies for the headphones, it's really windy and it'll just mess up all of the audio if not. Now we're going to look at the crossbill Greenfinch hybrid pair. You can see the crossbill sat there, and the hen is on the nest site round here. Now we saw last week that she was on 6 eggs. I candled those eggs after sitting of about 5 days and they were clear, which is a shame, but oh well, it happens. So I've left them to sort of go down again. The hen has rebuilt. No first egg yet, but I think it'll be very soon that we get that. So let's hope they're full for next week. So guys, I'm afraid that does bring us to the end of this week's video, but I hope you've enjoyed it, found some useful tips, and just enjoyed seeing my birds. Now, huge thank you again to Shane Evans of Direct Bird Products for all the things that you've sent me. Please do go and check out Direct Bird Products. The link is in the description to their Facebook, their YouTube and their website, and you can find so many different bird care products on there that it will be really useful. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. If you have enjoyed today's video, please hit subscribe down below, smash that like button, and I'll see you in the next one.